I'm Frank Eamon. I was a musician aboard the battleship Pennsylvania. I traveled to that ship with Admiral Kimball as part of his group. And on that day, we were aboard the stern of the ship, which was in dry dock. Our battleship had moved 2 or 3 days before from our normal pier. And we were standing by before 8 o'clock to raise the national anthem. Just about 5 minutes before 8, when first call sounded, we looked up and saw a line of planes coming in, and something come off the lead plane. I thought it was coming apart. I watched it as it came down to the ground and hit a hangar on Ford Island Air Station. It exploded in fire and smoke and noise, startled everybody. We looked up and saw a lot more planes coming in, and right about then, a torpedo plane come switching across the stern of the ship, and it dropped the torpedo. When we could see the float devices separate from the torpedo, and it went under the Oglala, which was a wooden mine layer ship, and at 1010 dock, and there was a light cruiser, I believe the Helena, correct? It was the Helena, exploded in the Helena, and it all blew up. And we looked up and we could see all the red spots on the airplanes. So right that instant, we knew that we were being attacked. And the leader, of course, that torpedo plane, the machine gunner in the rear cockpit was firing at us, but they were going so fast that they missed us. So, and at that time, of course, everybody realized what was going on. And so they sounded general quarters, no drill throughout the ship. And it took a few minutes to convince people that this was not a drill, because we usually don't drill on Sundays. But it didn't take long to realize we were standing out an exposed deck out there, and with all these planes, so we zoomed down to our battle stations.
And where was your battle station, Frank?
The two of the band, me and one of the other members of the band were assigned to the aft repair party as stretcher bearers. And the rest of the band was spread around the ship at different places where they needed a man or two.
Mickey, can you tell us where you were that morning?
Sir?
I was going to ask Mickey to kind of take it from there.
Yeah, go
My name is Mickeyguinness. I was born November 18, 1919 in Ohio. I joined the Navy January in 1941. I reported aboard the USS Pennsylvania there, a battleship, a flagship of the fleet. We reported aboard it August 15th of 1941. I was active in sports there, and so I joined the ship's football team there, and we were scheduled to play the USS Arizona for Fleet Football Championship. It 1 o'clock, December 7th, there, 1941. 5 minutes of 8, the attack came there, and there was no place to change clothes, a little place where we was going to do a little scrimmaging. So we had our uniforms on during the attack. My battle station was up in the crow's nest, about 60, 70 feet up in the air, where I had a kind of bird's eye view of everything there. At 5 minutes of 8, the attack came there, and some of the people were shooting with their guns there. Before we even knew what was going on, we figured it wouldn't be anybody attacking us, because we're such a strong force. We had 8 battleships in port here. It'd be crazy there to try to attack us. So by the time I got up in the crow's nest, I could see planes flying around, buildings burning there. Just in a couple of minutes' time there, It was hectic. Everything was going all over. People shooting every direction there. My ship was an old battleship. Normally we'd be tied up in the dock, but we were in dry dock at the time, Eric.
In the dry dock, now the fact that your ship was in the dry dock actually ends up helping the ship, doesn't it? The fact that the ship is in dry dock actually turns out to be a good thing, isn't it?
It turned out a good thing. They couldn't hit us with a torpedo, but they did hit us with a bomb. In the second attack, they did hit us with a bomb. 500-pound bomb, missed me by about 45 feet. It came one past me, I'm on the closest. It came one way below me there and exploded down there. If it had exploded on contact, I wouldn't be here talking to you. That's the only hit that we had that day. Now the third attack was going to be the aircraft carriers, the fuel facilities, and the oil tanks in repair. That was going to be the third attack. Now, the aircraft carriers were not in port. Admiral Halsey was taking planes to Midway and Wake Island, so they were not in port. They were supposed to be in port. Japan knew they was in port. They had intelligence there. It was just really outstanding. They had intelligence. They even had names of the ships there. They knew the schedules of the ship. Now, the aircraft carriers were not in port at the time. They were delayed 12 hours coming back from Midway and Wake Island there.
So now, how long does it take for you to recover, and what happens in those days? Both Mickey and
less than 2 weeks, we're on our way back to San Francisco. But let me tell you about it there. We were attacked. Franklin Delano Roosevelt got to Congress to declare war on Japan. We were attacked. Blocks long, people lining up where wanted to join the service there, because we were attacked there. So what happened up to that time, the women who were the stay-at-homes, taking care of the family, taking care of the house. The men were gone. So what happened? The women stepped in. The women started building planes, tanks, guns, anything we needed. You've seen sign, we can do it, and then they did it. They furnished us with what we needed. Now, the third attack did not happen because aircraft carriers were not in port. Admiral Nagumo of the Japanese fleet said, we better leave while we can. So
the Japanese continue their attack. Let's get Hank into the picture here. And Hank, why don't you, if you could introduce yourself and tell us, absolutely, sir.
The wait is over. My name's Hank Kudzik. When Pearl Harbor was bombed, I was 16. And I wanted to join the Navy, but the recruiter said, son, you're too young. Okay. He said, we'll do all the preliminaries, and when it's your birthday, you come in here and raise your hand. You'll be in the Navy. That's exactly what happened. My mom wouldn't sign for me. My pop did. He wanted me even before I decided. I didn't even know that I wanted to be on a submarine. Now in 1929, our Navy built 3 large submarines, the Nautilus, the Narwhal, and the Argonaut. They didn't know what to do with them. They were 380 feet long. And they were riveted. The pressure hull was a half-inch steel riveted. There was another ship that was riveted. The Titanic, remember? Is that going to get us? Okay, you probably want to know how I chose the submarine service. When I got to Pearl right after the bombing, and it was loaded with oil, and their ships were still, some of them were still hot, and my first duty was go to the Oklahoma and help remove our dead sailors from the Oklahoma and the mine layer Ogallala. I did that too. Then another work detail, I was on a carrier, I believe it was a Saratoga, and I was wire brushing the freshwater tank. Now, all of a sudden, a big loud, whatever we did, we did a little shakedown. And no sooner we left the gates at Pearl, a loud explosion. Wow, and I'm 20 feet or less from this big hole. That was either a torpedo or a mine. Managed to get it. They said, "Hey, get out of that tank." I said, "I'll get out as fast as I can." And we managed to get it back into the dry dock. And I was up on deck, and I'm standing, and I'm looking over at the Pearl Harbor submarine base. And I said, maybe I'd rather be on a ship that is shooting torpedoes rather than being the target. I want out of this duty. They wouldn't let me go. And they say, well, when you have a problem, you can always go to the chaplain and discuss your problem with him. I went there, and the chief in charge of the thing, "I'll let you go, but you bring me back a chit that says that not everybody is capable of, health-wise, you're supposed to be in top shape." And so you get taken over to Coles for pretty. So I went through all of that, and they signed off. And I went back, and then I was in the submarine service, but I didn't see any action yet. Nothing happened. So I got on. I was gunner's mate on the Nautilus. We carried about 98 to 100 sailors. Now, we're still sitting alongside the dock. We haven't gone out yet. We haven't gone to Midway Atoll. Not yet. Okay, when we decided to go, everybody on the subs has to stand 4 on, 8 off. 4 on, 8 off. There's only one way to get out, and there's no windows in a submarine. You can't look out and see it. Once you get the feel of what it's like to live on a submarine, just how can you live on a submarine? There's only one hatch, and they close that, and down you go. Aruga will take you down. And hopefully, Aruga will take you up to the top of the water. That isn't always a sure thing. Anyway, you're going to suffer low oxygen at times. You're going to tremendous diesel smell always there, plus a a battery gives off a caustic odor too, which is hard to take, and so you've got to learn to live with that.
So now, Hank, can you give us a little bit of, when you get to Midway, what all is happening at Midway?
Well, when we were assigned to Midway, and what we're waiting for, we see the captain coming back to his sub with a letter in his hand, an envelope. So when the sub backs out, he wants the crew to be on top. He's going to open the envelope. And now it says where we're going to spend our patrol. And he wants us all to know. On a submarine, you have good communication between the captain and, okay, so he said you still have time to swim to, if you don't want to go to our station.
So how many people jumped off?
Atoll.
How many people jumped off the sub at that point rather than going into
nobody.
battle? Were there a lot?
Nobody ever.
No?
Ever. I was always in charge of throwing a bow line ashore. And your friends are, if they say goodbye to you, that means they don't expect you to come back. Farewell is the term that they're hoping to see you again. We got on station, and we weren't there any more than 4 days, and a huge convoy. Now the captain's name is Bill Brockman. The executive officer and navigator is Ozzie Lynch. Most of my stations was in the conning tower. On a submarine, you have bridge, conning tower, control room. I wanted to be a lookout too. Okay, they give you 7 seconds, the highest point on the periscope shears down to the control room deck. You have to be able to clear that in 7 seconds. If you can't clear it in 7 seconds, you're not a lookout. You know, we charge batteries, have to be, and that's done at night. And one of mine was the helm's wheel. Now, 5 people in the conning tower is crowded, but that's what you need. In Ozzie's on one scope, and the captain's on the shooting scope. We see this convoy coming directly over us, and here's a conversation between the captain and Ozzie, we don't even have to plot this. They're coming right over like a shooting gallery. He says, we don't have to really move. Make torpedo tubes 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now that's going to be a blast to fire 4 succession tubes.
So basically, you're getting ready to fire everything you have at an enormous
at
Japanese.
four ships. Mm-hmm. They all hit their targets, but none of them exploded. Oh my gosh. Even John Wayne, in one of his movies, was trying to remedy why the torpedoes didn't explode. It was a little pin that the supplier changed the alloy and made it lighter, and that was the cause of it.
So the American.
But now we still had a load of torpedoes. We didn't know which ones were good or bad. You carry 28 torpedoes with you when you go to sea.
And unfortunately,
You put 10 in the tubes, so you got 18 you have to jockey with to find a place to sleep.
But
and
you do end up, the Nautilus does end up sinking a ship, doesn't it?
Well, water is a premium, places to sleep is a life on a submarine. Things you have the best food in the world, but some of the things, milk and potatoes, doesn't last very long. But anyway, we're sitting at we got our first taste of depth charges. I think they dropped 29, and they had other plans. They were heading to the area where the fighting is going to be.
And it's because of your reports that one reason, that the American forces are able to rally and give a huge defeat to the Japanese. And now, meanwhile, though, the Japanese are invading in Alaska, and I think Mickey may have been up in that area, could tell us a little bit. Mickey, can you talk about the Aleutians and what it was like, how cold it was, or maybe it was warm up there. Was it warm up in Alaska?
Well, I didn't get to the missions. Chester Nimitz, our buddy, he was going to assign us Midway. He was going to assign us Macon Island raid with Colonel Carlson. That was 2 submarines. We rescued some some nuns that were on Bougainville. There were 3. How do you get 24 nuns off of the island? All young ladies, beautiful young ladies. They were in the 22 range. We were chosen. It was either a submarine, a fast destroyer, or a chopper. Somewhere along the line, the Nips are going to find out what we're doing. Now, when let me start with Midway Atoll. We're still on that. We managed to.
Hank, let's give Mickey a little chance to tell us what else is going on in the Pacific at that point, and then we're going to come back to you.
I was on an old battleship, commissioned in 1915. We could do 15 knots downhill with a tailwind. We didn't have the speed there, so they used us for fire support. In the first invasions that we were participating in was at 2 on the Aleutian Islands. It was cold up there. In fact, we had a Japanese torpedo went right past us up there. My ship was used for fire support for the various invasions, not shooting at enemy ships, we're shooting at enemy troops there. The only invasion my ship was in on was Attu, Kiska, Macon, Kwajalein, and Wetak, Palu, Saipan, Guam, and the Philippines. That's the only invasion my ship was in on. And I'd like to tell you a little about the invasion in the Philippines. The first invasion in the Philippines there was at Leyte itself. Now, the turning point of the war had been at Midway Island because a lot of the Japanese pilots died there because they had 4 aircraft carriers up there and all of them were sunk. So they lost a lot of their pilots. They were using kamikaze planes, kamikaze people dive in ships and buildings and whatnot there, not worrying too much about the landing itself. So at that time, my battle station was steering a ship, 33,000-ton battleship there. A kamikaze plane hit one of the destroyers, Admiral Reed, and we're on battle station. It's set off for torpedoes. The torpedoes start coming out throughout the fleet. Captain says, hard rudder, steer for that torpedo. I put hard rudder on, I try to turn it good, but I just couldn't turn that battleship around the face. And I looked and see the weight coming from the torpedo. I got an arm holding on here, rudder over just as hard as I can. He went right underneath us. Evidently there when the torpedo was launched off of the destroyer, it was tilted enough, it went a little bit deeper. That's kind of scary. By that time we got through with the Philippines there. I came back to the States getting new guns. Iwo Jima and Okinawa were going on then, so we missed it. We got patched up there. We're heading back to Okinawa, get ready for the invasion of Japan. August 15th there, we got in Okinawa. 8:30 that night, a Japanese plane came on, lights on, nobody fired a shot at it. They thought it was a friendly plane. Aimed its torpedo at the closest big ship it saw, Battleship Pennsylvania. Now the living compartment of quartermasters, which I was back by the rudder, that's where the torpedo hit. 7:30 it did. An hour before that, I'd gone up the bridge, write a letter to one of my sisters, so I wasn't down there. The torpedo hit, everything went up, living compartment quartermasters. I had 26 quartermasters. I lost 20 of them that night. The next morning, Japanese asked for peace. We're the last ship hit in World War II. They told us in a shallow ground, just in case we'd sink, we wouldn't sink in them very deep, so we was able to stay afloat while they signed the peace treaty in Tokyo Bay. We was the last ship hit in World War II.
Now, Hank, could you tell us a little bit more about the Nautilus after Midway?
Okay. Midway Atoll. Before the war, Pan Am used to have a flying boat called the China Clipper. Now, there's nothing on Midway. What do they want? Anyway, Pan Am built a little hotel there called the Goonieville Hotel. Now, the only residents on Midway were Goonie birds. Funny looking things. They couldn't take off and they couldn't land. But anyway, that's what they were fighting for. We sank 3 ships. Okay, they had 4 carriers. We had 4 carriers. We lost the Yorktown. The last carrier was trying to get away, go back to his homeland. He had bombs exploding on the deck, and we could see could see the workers on the top side trying to patch up the hole. And now here's the conversation between the captain. I could hear that, elbow to elbow with these people. Ozzy, the captain, says, "Do you think we're going to have trouble with our torpedoes now like we did a couple days ago? What is our shooting distance?" Now, this is the first time a war. Everything we're doing for the first time. Okay, Ozzy, what's our distance supposed to be? He said it's somewhere around 1,200 yards. And I said, how about, can I get closer? He said, you can get closer, Captain, but don't miss. Don't miss. See, if there's any advantage between the shooter and the target, we being the target, Ozzy telling the captain that one escort is in the way. He wants to. I'm going to have to shoot around him, and okay. Well,
And the
when it
closer,
comes time to fire, he said, "Make tubes 1, 2, and 3 ready." So he got as close as he could, and he fired 3 torpedoes. They all hit. These are the first torpedoes fired
By yours.
in a war. They all hit, but the last one didn't explode. So the first 2 was enough to roll him over.
We're tight, so we're gonna have to
Now-
skip Q&A.
Yeah, okay.
Now they have a problem because they're not going to save this carrier. So there were 2 escorts there, and they took care of us. They worked us over.
Now,
If
when
there
you
is
say
an
took care of-
advantage between
Mick,
a target and a shooter, is the submarine. We can hear him. We know where he is, but he's looking for us. So he doesn't know where we are. We know where he is. And so they hammered the hell out of us. So
how long does that go on? Now, when
Well,
you say take care, they're
as quick as
throwing all
we
sorts.
can. The captain
How many
said he was
knots?
going to handle these escorts now that their carrier is gone, the Soyuz is gone. And he said, the only way I'm going to use 1 torpedo. Okay, he's ready for him, but he said, I want him in another position. He is not exposing enough. The only way I can make him move is show him the periscope, which is deadly. And he's so close, he's 750 yards. He's telling the Ozzy that Ozzy's concerned his distance, and he said, just don't miss, Captain. If you're going to show him our scope, he's going to know exactly where you're at, and we're going. So that happened, and he got him to turn just enough. Now, at a torpedo, after it's fired, is going 35 miles an hour. He's not going to be able to get out of the way of the torpedo, and we socked him. Now there's only 1 more escort left.
Well, we're going to have to leave that as a cliffhanger for everyone because we're running out of time. Now, you may understand that because Hank is still with us, that things do turn out well.